Welcome back to Thrive Thursdays. And I kind of made a little announcement. I tried to give you notice ahead of time that I was going to go live tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about anger. And, I thought about this because when you are saved or when you're a Christian, you may have experienced this where someone may do something to provoke you. And then when you react or respond, they'll say something like, well, I thought you were saved, or you're supposed to be a Christian and you shouldn't do that. So I really wanted to talk about anger tonight. And Thrive Thursdays again is about self care. And that would be not just physical self care, but mental, emotional, and spiritual self care as well. And a lot of times when it comes to anger, we don't manage it properly. And sometimes because we're saved, we think that we have to act like we never get angry and we don't give place to anger. Anger is a part of life and it's something that we have to live with, we have to deal with, and we cannot ignore. And it is not a sin to be angry. When we go to the book of Ephesians, the 4 and 26, the Apostle Paul says to be angry and sin not. It did not say not to be angry. It does not say that anger is a sin. And when I really started to break down anger, anger is usually the byproduct of love. And I say this all the time because love is the most powerful force on earth. And so I think the best way to deal with anger is to always act in love, not in anger. And here's a good example of that. If you're a parent, you already know that the quickest way to get you angry is to bother your kids, right? We don't want anything to happen to our kids. Why would we get so angry if somebody bothers our children? Because we love them. And so if you can manage to focus on the love, not the anger, and act in love, not in anger, you can avoid falling into the category of doing something you would regret. And I have a story to share. I always got stories, right? But when my daughter was little, I she wanted to go to the park. And I sent her to the park with my neighbor. And I was sitting there and I figured, okay, she's right down the street. What could happen? And while she was at the park, I was sitting at my desk working. And I kid you not, could not work, could not focus, could not function. All of a sudden, I got so agitated, I couldn't sit in that seat. I got up, I walked to the park. When I got there, one of the little boys had thrown a stone and it hit her in the back of the head. And the person who she was with didn't know what to do. So she was going to run home with my daughter. And if you know anything about a head injury, that's the worst thing to do. She would have passed out before she got to the corner. So I get there to the park. The lady is hysterical. My daughter's hysterical. And I'm looking at them like, what's going on? Calm down. And so they turned her around and the entire back of her shirt was soaked in blood. I mean, her blood, because head injuries, they bleed profusely. So the entire back of her shirt was covered with blood. That's how much blood she was losing. So at that point, I'm first aid trained. So one of the other neighbors, he applied pressure and we did all the things to get her together. Okay, and I'm sharing this story about anger because, yes, I was angry that somebody hit my daughter in the head with a rock and she's bleeding like this. But what if I had acted on the anger? Okay, I'm going to go find this boy. I'm going to go get this boy and just let my daughter sit over there and bleed to death. But I didn't act in anger. I acted in love. And I did what I needed to do to administer first aid to her and get her to the emergency room. By the time we got there, the wound was so small, once we stopped the bleeding, ER could barely find the cut. And they told us you did all the right things and she was fine. She's still fine from that. And that's why I say you always want to act in love, not anger. And we don't want to go through life always angry. And then the other part of the verse where Paul talks about anger, he said, be angry and sin not. And then he also said, let not the sun go down on your wrath. And that talks about holding grudges, because when you hold grudges and you remain angry, it hurts you. It distracts you from the love that is within you, and you end up hurting the situation that you're angry about. So you've got to be able to let it go. And you can overcome, I say this all the time, you can overcome anger with love. You can overcome hate with love. And I teach this all the time. I have whole seminars about this. People say that love is opposite of hate. Hate is not powerful enough to be the opposite of love. Love is more powerful, and love overpowers hate. And in this society, you hear people use the term haters, and we talk about this one phrase that says "motivated by my haters." That is so backward. You cannot be motivated to do anything positive by hate and anger and all of those emotions. And so when we talk about Christians and we talk about, hi Sabrina, when we talk about Christians and when we talk about love, those are things that we have to focus on. And again, it is not a sin to be angry. We are still human beings and we feel those emotions, right? We feel the anger, we feel the fear, we feel those things, but it is the power of God in us that gives us the power to overcome those things and not get stuck in that place. And I felt led to make this Thrive Thursdays about anger because if you don't manage anger, you won't have any peace. And the peace of God is what keeps you through all of this, especially now. There were some things that I had that was going on in my life, and I realized I was angry, and I had to let it go. Hi, Jessica, and I had to move on from that. And so God helped me get through that process of being angry. I talk about my mom all the time, but when I would say things like, "Okay, mom, that wasn't fair," and her classic comeback was, "Okay, so life not fair. What you gonna do, die?" And the same, like, I'm like, "Oh my, why does she keep saying that?" But we've got to live, right? And again, through this pandemic and all of these things, you'll never hear me say I'm surviving, because Jesus said that I'm come that you might have life and that more abundantly. He didn't tell me to survive. Nowhere in the Bible does it tell us to survive, but there are tons and tons and tons of scriptures telling us to live. I'm going to live and not die. And even my grandfather, he would say, "I'm going to live till I die." And when I was little, that didn't make sense to me. But now it does. I'm going to live. I'll live life to the fullest as long as there is breath in my body. And anger can literally suck the life out of you. And again, as Christians, the first thing that you have to do is acknowledge it. You can't pretend like I'm so saved, I'm so anointed, I'm so deep, I don't get angry. That's not even realistic. We've got to understand it. We've got to identify it. We've got to accept it in order to overcome it. And yes, we are all tired of the pandemic. Jessica just posted, "I'm tired of this pandemic," as well as I am. It has really shifted the way that we live. But what we don't want to do is get angry about it. And we don't want to get angry about each other, even with what's going on with the social injustice and all of those things. There are so many reasons to be angry right now. And there is no reason to have guilt about having those feelings because, again, be angry. Go ahead. It's okay. But don't sin. Don't allow the anger to control your actions. Understand it, understand what it's about, and then find ways to overcome it. Don't allow anger to control you and defeat you. We laughed because when I was a teenager, about 17, 18 years old, and I would go to church, and me and my best friend, it seemed like everybody that was 40 and 50 years old, it's like they were just mean and angry. And me and my best friend made a pact. When I get 50, I'm not going to be mean and evil and angry. And I'll be 50 this year, and I am not mean and evil and angry. I'm happy. I'm living. I'm loving life. I'm enjoying my life. Have people done me wrong? Of course. Do I have reasons to be angry? Of course. Do I get angry? Of course. But I also get over it, and I keep living. And that's why I wanted to do this. Even within the body of Christ, we see so many people. Like I said, when I was young, so many people are harboring anger and bitterness. Man, let that stuff go. Give it to the Lord. And I know it's easy to say that, but give it to the Lord. And that's why I say, allow the love. Go back and find the love in the anger. Because whatever it is that makes you angry is because it is threatening something that you love, a person that you love, something that you love to do, is threatening a freedom that you love. So what you want to do is protect the love and allow the anger to pass. And that's what you have to do. So again, don't ignore it. It's healthy. It lets us know, right, that I'm alive and I'm breathing. Yeah, I felt that and that hurt and it made me angry. So now I've got to fix it. And so that's all I really want to talk about tonight. Thrive Thursdays again. This whole segment, I'm going to commit. I'm trying to go live more often, but I'm going to commit to doing Thrive Thursdays because being in church all my life, I noticed that so many of us lack self care. Yeah, let go and let God. That is one of my favorite songs. Let God have his way. Let it go. But so many of us as Christians, we lack self-care, man. We don't eat right. We don't exercise, and it's funny, you can't abuse your body, mind, soul, and spirit and then pray to God for a miracle. Sometimes we don't need no miracle. All we need to do is take care of ourselves. So that's what Thrive Thursdays is about. And I just really want to talk about anger. Even on social media, I'm on social media a lot and I'm seeing so much anger. And that is not good for us. And I saw Jessica's posting about people having judgment about the mask, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. And it's almost like you're seeing battles about everything, battles about the mask. And we have to, and this is another quote that I always say, fighters fight, okay, but fight, no, no, warriors make war, but winners make peace. And even the word tells us to follow peace with all men for holiness, without which no one shall see the Lord. So give place to that anger, get over it, and get to a place of peace. Back to another scripture. God will keep you in perfect peace if your mind is stayed on Him. You can't just sit and be bitter and angry and meditate on that anger. Have you ever done this? I've done it before, where something makes you so mad and you sit there and you keep going over and over it in your mind and you literally are replaying word for word what they said and what you said and what you should have said, and you're just sitting there and you get angrier and angrier and angrier. Don't do that. Let that go. Allow your mind to meditate on the goodness of the Lord, the love of Christ, the love of God in your life. Focus on that and allow that to overpower the anger. Again, this is Thrive Thursday. So if you're angry, let's see, it's about 6:30, 6:15 maybe. Okay, don't let the sun go down. Here in Chicago area, it's 6:15ish. So that means the sun is going to go down in about 2.5 hours. So if you mad, you got a good 2.5 hours to let it go, because we're not going to let the sun go down on our anger. You're gonna pray. You're gonna give it to God. You're gonna let it go, and we're gonna wake up in the morning and we're going to thank Him for the brand new mercy of a new day, and we are going to live and take advantage of every day that God has blessed us with. So remember, take care of yourself. Do not allow anger to control you, but also do not ignore it or pretend like it doesn't exist. Feel it, get over it, and move on. Thrive Thursdays.